Right. So in the today's session, we are going to see how we can create our own APIs. In the last class, we have seen how we can send API requests, a different type of API request, and we have taken a small dummy API, and then we have seen how we can send different type of API request or HTTP request. So today we are going to see how we can install or how we can create our own APIs for testing purpose. Okay. Now the first thing is to create our own APIs, we have to install a few softwares, and then we will able to create our own APIs. Right. So to install, to create any APIs, right, our own APIs or some demo APIs, we need to install some softwares. So what are the softwares we need to install? The first thing is we need to install something called nodeJs software. Okay, so nodeJs, it is a free software which we have to just download and install it. So we install nodeJs software, so we will also get one thing called npm, node package manager. npm means node package manager, and this particular component will automatically come along with the nodejs, because we need this component to run the or to create our own APIs. So first we need to install nodejs software, first thing. Second thing is what, when you install nodejs, by default you will get npm. It is the same process on Mac also, so you can follow the same process. So we need to install nodejs first, and then we will get npm, node package manager. By default you will get along with the nodejs. You don't need to install this separately. And once you get this node package manager, by using this node package manager or by using this npm, we have to install JSON server. Okay, we have to install JSON server. This is also one of the software. So step one, we have to download nodejs and we need to install it. Second thing is we will get npm package by default along with the nodejs, and this is part of nodejs actually. So once you get an npm package, by using this npm, we can install JSON server. Okay, these are the three things which we need to have. Again, I'm repeating. Step one, we have to install nodejs software. Second thing is what, we have to install JSON server by using npm. So where we will get an npm, this npm will come along with the nodejs. Okay, so these are the three things which we need to have. So first, let us see step by step how we can download and install nodejs, and then how we can install JSON server by using npm. It's very simple and straightforward. Let me show you how we can do it. In the Mac machine also, we have to follow the same process, same commands, no change at all. Okay. So first step, we have to download the nodejs software. This is step one. Okay. Step one, we have to download nodejs. And then step two, we have to install the JSON server, and npm package will come along with the nodejs, so you no need to install this separately. Okay, so now let us see step one, how to install nodejs, and then we will see how to install JSON server. So I have created a small document with the screenshot. You can just follow the document as it is and you will be able to install it. It's very straightforward and simple. So first we need to go to this link, and this is go to Google first, and then type download nodejs. Okay, we need to go to Google and type download nodejs, and here this is a link you have to click, and this is the official website of nodejs software, and here there are multiple versions are available. And if you are working on Windows, select this option, and if you are working on Mac, you can just go this, and source code we don't require. If you are working on Mac, then you can select this, and it will automatically download one package here, .pag. You can see here. Okay, and you have to run this package. I'm just canceling this. And if you're working on Mac, you will get this .pkg file. And if you're working on Windows, then when you click on this, you will automatically get .msa file. And this MSA file is just like an executable file, and you have to install. And again, when you're downloading Windows, please check your Windows 32-bit or 64-bit. Okay, so you can directly click on this, or else you can just select this option, either 32-bit or 64-bit. And if you're working on Mac, you just go with this. Don't go with the tar or gz file. Instead, you can just go with this .pag. This is for Mac machine. Okay. So this is how first we need to download the software. So once you download it, you will see a small icon like this. And if you are working on Windows, you can see MSI file, or if you are working on Mac, you can see package file. Okay, so .pkg is a extension. And once you get this file, you have to just double click on it, then it will start installation. So it will give the screen, and just we need to click on the next button, and then it will show you one more screen like this. Just accept terms and license agreement, select this checkbox, and then click on the next, and then go to the next screen. And here it will show you the default location where exactly your node.js is installed. Okay, and no need to change anything, just let it be the default location, and say click on the next button, and then it will go to another screen. And here by default, whatever packages will come along with the node.js will be listed out here. You can just look at here, npm package manager, npm node package manager. So this will come along with the node.js. In the older versions, we have to install it different as a different component, but nowadays the node.js along with the node.js, the npm is also automatically comes. So you can no need to select anything. By default, all these components by default will get along with the node.js. And then click on the next button here, and then here there is a one checkbox is there. So if it is already selected, just uncheck, because we don't need anything. Because by default, when you install node.js, you will get Python, Visual Studio, build tools, all these things by default will be installed along with the node.js. So if you don't need them, so you can just unselect this checkbox, or else if you select this checkbox, it will take more time to install all these components. So we don't need this Python and other things so far. So just unselect this checkbox. No, don't select this, and then click on the next button. So once you click on the next button, and then you will see the screen, and inside the screen you can see install button, and just click on the install button. So it will take few seconds of time. So it will take a few seconds, and then it will complete the process. And then finally you will get the screen completed the node.js setup which had. That's it. You can just click on the finish. So this is a simple installation of node.js software. Step-by-step install. It's very straightforward, very simple. And just download the software first, and then go through the installation process. Okay, so this is the first thing. So once you install this node.js, what is the next thing we have to do is we have to we will get automatically npm package manager along with the node.js. Now let us cross check whether the node.js is properly installed or not, npm is properly installed or not. So for that, what you need to do is, as soon as you install this node.js, you need to do one more step here, which is environment variable setup. Okay, so if you are working on Windows, we need to check this, otherwise not required. If I just go to the any browser and right click on this PC, go to properties, and here you can see something called, just like Java path, we need to also set node.js path. So go to the properties, window properties, and here you can see something called environment variables, advanced system settings. And here go to environment variables, and in this bottom section you can see something called path variable. Okay, so path variable you can see, and select that path variable, and then click on the edit. You have to click. So once you click on the edit, you can see something here. By default, you can see these two things: C program file node.js, C program file node.js, node underscore module. So these two entries should be there in your environment variables. So these variables automatically created by the node.js. If not, then we have to add them manually. So because this is the node.js path, and this is the location of node.js modules. I have given these paths also in the screenshot. You can just look at this. This is just for cross-checking. Okay, so by default, node.js will add these two paths to the environment variable. Even if you're working on Mac also, by default, these paths will be added. You don't need to set paths separately. And this is a confirmation of installation process. So if you set these two variables properly, that means your node.js successfully installed. So now let us cross-check. How we can cross-check whether they are successful install or not? The first thing is we need to check these variables are created or not. Second thing is what we need to execute some commands through command prompt. So we need to first open the command prompt, and if you are working on Mac, you have to open the terminal, and in this command prompt you have to execute the commands. Let me just maximize this font. Okay, so here we need to execute one command. So node -- version. I'm just executing this node -- version. So this command will give you the version number. So whatever the node.js we have installed, it will just give you version number of node.js. When you press enter key, so it will give you current version, whichever you have installed, it will show you like this. And this is the latest version currently I have installed, and this is the old screen which I'm showing here. Okay, this is the first thing. 16.15.1, this is the current version of node.js. And then we have to check npm is also successfully installed or not. For that, we can execute this command npm -- version. So this will also give you the version of your npm. So these two commands should be successfully executed, and then you will be able to see the version numbers. You can just ignore the warnings. Okay, so this is the way we can check whether your npm and node.js and npm successfully installed or not. We can just check by giving these two commands. Okay, so till here we have successfully done a node.js installation, and npm is also comes along with the node.js. And also we have successfully executed two commands. After installation, we have successfully executed this command. What is the command? Node -- version. And then we have seen npm -- version. So these are the two commands which you have to execute in the command window or terminal, so that you will get the version numbers. Okay, so this is the first step. And once you successfully install these two, then we need to install JSON server. So this is very much required to run your sample APIs or dummy APIs. So for that, what you can do is to install JSON server, we have to execute one command in the terminal itself. So what is the command? npm install -g JSON-server. So if you execute this command in the terminal, that will automatically install your JSON server. So this is the command. Okay, so from the below command in the command window or in the terminal, if you're working on Mac, this is a command. So these are the steps. So if you install this command, so npm install -g JSON-server. So just copy paste this command directly. If you give any spaces between here, so it will not work again. So just copy paste this command, and that will take some time. And here it will finally install the JSON server. Okay, so this is one of the most important thing. So to create our own APIs, we have to install these many softwares. So that's the reason at the beginning I have told you, if you want to create our own APIs, we have to install these particular softwares. Then only we will able to create our own APIs. And these are not related to Postman. Okay, if you want to use any other APIs which are already available, you don't need to do all these things. But here I want to show you to create our own APIs for testing purpose. Instead of depending on some external APIs, we will create our own APIs and we will test those APIs in the Postman tool. So that's the reason we have to install these softwares if you want to create our own APIs. Otherwise, not at all required. Please remember this point. Okay, creating our own APIs. So this is the purpose, to install this software. Otherwise, not at all required. Okay, so guys, are you clear on this? Why we are installing these softwares, why it is required? So to create our own APIs, or we can create our own demo APIs, we need to install the software. Okay, so for that we have to do these steps. First, we need to install node.js, and npm will come along with the node.js. Then by using this npm, we have to install JSON server. So here we use npm command. You can just look at the command itself. So why we need this npm? Because we need to install JSON server next. So npm, this is the command, install -g JSON-server. So this particular command will install JSON server component. So once you have this node.js, npm and JSON server, now you are ready to create our own APIs. We can create our own APIs. So that is the next step. So to create our own APIs, so we have successfully installed this JSON server component. Okay, by using npm, we have successfully installed this JSON server component. And then now we need to start creating our own APIs. So by default, you will get latest versions. Okay, you don't need to update. If you are already installed them, so you can just go with them. No need to again install a new thing. Okay, but if you are completely new and if you are completely newly installing them, so better to download the latest software. And if you already have Node.js software on your machine which is running, so then you can continue with that. Okay, so JSON server by default, whichever is the latest is available, so that will download and keep it with you. So this will download the latest version always, because we are not specifying any version here. So npm install -g JSON server, and once you executed this command, it will take some time here, and 1 or 2 minutes it will take, and then finally you will end up this entire process, and that will be completed your installations part. So once the installations are completed, now to run any API, first we need to have some JSON file, which basically contains some data, because any API works based on data only, right? We need some backend data. So if you have data, then the API will able to get the data, API will able to post the data or retrieve the data or delete the data. So how these operations will be done by API? If you have some data at the backend, then it will work. So we need to prepare our own data. So for that, we need to create one JSON format file. You can have any data, JSON type of data, which we need to have. And the file name should be anything, but the extension should be .json is an extension of the file. Okay. So here I have given some sample JSON data. So you can just copy paste this and create one file, JSON student.json. Currently I have 3 records are there. So later I will go through this JSON format, what is JSON file, how we can create the JSON data, all these things we will discuss in detail. This is very important. But for now, just copy this data as it is and create one file called students.json and copy this entire data into the particular file. So I already created, let me show you. So go to the C drive and here automation practice and JSON files. And here I have students.json. If I open the file, you can see the same data here. So currently 3 records are there. So this is student data 1, 2, and 3 records are there. So later I'll make you try to understand this JSON file in detail. For now, just copy paste everything in this XML in the file, and file name should be .json. Name can be anything, but the extension of the file should be .json. Okay, this is our file where exactly the data will be maintained. Even if you add a new record, the new record will be added to the file. And if you delete the record, that record will be deleted from this file. And if you updated any record, that record also updated inside this file. So this is the file which will maintain as a backend, and every operation will be happen in this particular file. Okay, so you need to create this JSON file and keep that in anywhere on your location. So wherever you want to create, you can just create and have it with you. And that is the next step. So once you have this JSON file, then we can create our own API based on this JSON files. How to create our own API now? Just go to the location wherever you copy this JSON and then open the command prompt. And currently your path is pointing to your location wherever your JSON file is available. You can see I have multiple JSON files here, students.json, which is created just now. And just go to this location and make sure this file is present in this location. And then here you have to execute one command called JSON-server, because JSON server you already installed earlier by using npm. So now once it is completed, then JSON server, just specify, give one space and specify the JSON file. That's it. When you execute this command, it will start creating our API. Students API is up and running. Now you can see here, this is the home and this is the which contains the resources. Okay, so once you get this resources and home, that means currently your students API is up and running. Currently your student API is up and running. Suppose if you close this window, then it will stop running your API. Okay, if you close that window, it will stop running on your, API. But again, if you want to start again, what you need to do, you need to just go to the location CMD and again JSON-server and then specify the JSON file, and it will start your API once again. So whenever you close this window, then your API will stop running. So what you need to do now, we need to just minimize this window. Don't close the window, just minimize the window. And once you minimize this window, then how we will know whether this API is running or not? Just you can send the URL. So this is the URL. So HTTP localhost 3000/students. So when you open this URL, this will give you list of students which are available in the database. Database in the sense, again, we have stored the data in the file. Now we can see this is the data we got. Okay, so this is how we can create our own API. Suppose if you want to create any other API, just place a different JSON file. So here I have a store and you have a employees, different JSON files I have. So with these JSON files, we can create a different type of REST APIs, a different type of REST APIs we can create. Okay, and endpoints, whatever endpoints which will give you, every API will not have the same kind of endpoints. Okay, so currently it is giving one endpoint here. Based on that, we will try to do other operations. Okay, I will show you what are other operations we can do. And this is the way we have to first create new API. Okay, this is the same way. And if you close this window, your API will stop running. Again, we have to execute this command, JSON-server and the name of the JSON file. And tomorrow, if you want to create any other API, again, same process, JSON-server and change the JSON file, or employees.json, stores.json. Whichever data you have, you can just execute this command along with this JSON. So that will start your API. And now currently this API is running on my local machine. So that's the reason it is giving localhost colon 3000 is a port number /students. So this will give you all the students data which is currently available in my JSON file. Okay, so this is a step-by-step installation and creation of your own APIs. So everything I put in this document clearly step by step, and you have to go through this document again and do the steps as it is. Then you will able to create your own APIs. I will provide the JSON file also. You no need to create your own. I'll upload the JSON file and you can get it from Google Drive, and then create your own API. And this particular API, we will use it for our testing for now. And later I will also show you how to create other APIs also. Along with the students.json, we will also see other APIs in future. Okay, so this is the process of creating our own APIs. Now, can we run this API in the Postman tool? Yes, we can run the same API in the Postman tool. Okay, so please consider this is a demo API. So don't think more about this. It is just a dummy API, demo API, which we created in local system just for our testing purpose. Okay, don't expect more things from this API, just for sending some requests like get request, put request, delete request. And these type of requests we can try on this particular API. I will show you what are the URLs we have to use to perform those operations. Okay. So now we successfully created our own API. So currently my API, student API, is up and running. So don't close this window. If you close this window, your API will stop running. So just you need to minimize this. Okay. Right. So now the next thing is what? So once you successfully created your API, we should able to send the request. Okay. So now through the Postman, we will try to send different type of requests like get request, put request, post request, and delete request. Let's see how those requests will work on this particular API. Okay. So for that, what I can do is, let me show you the URLs. What are the URLs we have to use to perform those type of request? Okay. Just a second. Okay. So let me show you the URLs, how we can access that API to perform different type of activities. Let me close this. Okay, so here I have one small Excel file. Okay, so here which contains all the student API related test cases. So I have created 5 test cases for 5 different type of requests. Now let's go through and try to understand. So this is the first request, get request and get a single student data. If you want to get a single student data, and this is the URL which we have to send. localhost comma 3000 slash students. So till here, this is the just URL. You can just look at this. It is giving the URL also. So till here, this is the actual resource which we have to use. And on top of this resource, we have to add some more things to access the data. So here you can just look at this HTTP localhost colon 3000 slash students. So till here, this is a resource /1. So what is this one? One is representing the student ID. So student ID, there's a first field actually in the data. So when you pass student ID here, that will give you student data. So this is student data in the JSON format. Currently we have ID, name, location, phone number, and courses he is enrolled. So this is the content which we have in the response. This is called response payload. We don't need to send any request payload because it is a get request. So we will get the response like this. Status code is 200. Now suppose I want to get all the students data. So simply you can say URL. So /students, don't specify any student ID, and this will get all the students information. So how many students we have configured in the JSON file? So all the students data we will get in the form of JSON response, and 200 is a status code. Now if you want to create a new student, so then we have to use this URL and we have to send post request, and again we have to specify the request payload because we are going to create a new student. So when you create a new student, we don't need to pass ID. Okay, ID will automatically generated by the server. So this ID will be automatically generated. So 1, 2, 3 already there. So fourth record it will generate. So this keeps incrementing value. So only thing is we have to pass only name, location, and phone and courses. If we pass this data as part of request body, then we will get the response like this. And 201 is a status code for post request. So the next thing is update student. So update a student. So update a student, we need to just provide the student ID. So which student we have to update? Student ID. Put here, put is a request, and which what data we want to update, we can specify in the request body, and then data will be updated, and then we will get the response. So this is the updating student. And now finally, if you want to delete the student, then again same URL, and whichever the student you want to delete, you can specify the ID here and delete request. And request payload, response payload is not required, and the response you will get empty bracket so that data is deleted, and 200 is a response code. So these are the details which we have to use to work with the student APIs, 5 types of requests. So currently our student API is running. You can just cross check once again. Currently it is running. So you can just minimize this window. Don't close that window. Now we are going to send all this request through Postman tool. Okay, so we don't have a patch request every time. Okay, so patch and put is almost the same. I already told you that many times. So don't think about patch request, patch and put. So these 2 requests are exactly the same. The difference is in the patch request, we will update only one single record, specific record. And in the put, we will update multiple record, multiple data sets. So that's the only difference. Okay. And patch request, most of the times, most of the APIs will not support patch request also. They will support only put request. If the API is support, then only we will able to send those type of requests. If the API is not supported, then we cannot send patch request. Okay. So in this API, we cannot send patch request. We can send only put request. Okay. And if you want to update any record. So now let us try to send this request through Postman. Okay. So now I already created one collection with these APIs. Now let me just import that collection into Postman tool. Now let's go to Postman, and these are HTTP requests yesterday we have tried. Now I'm going to import the collection. So the collection, all the student requests I already created, and I have that collection. So now I'm importing the existing collection, and in your case you have to create own collection. Okay, so how to import the collection? Yesterday I have shown you how to import the collection. Go to this import button, and once you click on import, and here we need to upload files. And here student API Postman collection, which is earlier already created, and just importing that. Open and then say import. So once you get imported, now your student API requests are imported. Now let me just go to one by one. So first thing is get a student get a single student record. So we need to just pass the URL as part of the get request. I have also added some tests. Let me remove them. Not required for now. Okay. So this is a URL for get request. So what this URL will do, this will return the single student ID. Okay. So this will return the single student details based on the ID. So here we have passed ID. One is my ID. And then when you send this, you will get the single record. So you can just look at here, ID is 1. So now you got the data. Suppose when you say 2 here, so then you will get the second record data. It's taking some time. So whatever the ID have passed here, so we will get the particular record. Okay, canceling it. Let me just check whether it's running or not. Or else just keep running one more time. I say Control C and run one more time. If you are facing any delay issues, then you can just rerun the command so that it will restart your API once again. Okay. And then I provided 2 here. Let me run once again. Yeah. So now you can see I got the second record. Similarly, you can just change the record ID, ID value. Based on that, you will get the data here. Let me again rechange to 1. Say send. Okay, so now we got the first record. So this is how we can extract the single record from the student. First record from the student. This is the API. Now I already saved it under collection student APIs. Now let's move on to the next one. So suppose if you want to get all the students data, so I have send one more request. And this is the URL and this is the get request. Okay, and when you click on the send button here, so this will retrieve all the students from the database. Now you can see we got 3 students in the JSON file. So all 3 students we got. So this is 1, 2, and 3. Currently we have only 3 students. So all 3 students data, we got it from this API request. This is another request, get all students data. Suppose I want to create a new student. So currently totally 3 students which we have. Okay, now I want to create another student. So how we can create another student? Just go to create a new student, and here I have sent a post request. Okay, here we have sent a post request, and this is the URL to send the post request. According to the Excel, we have to create. Okay, so I'll also share these files according to the same URLs. We have to copy paste. So now go here. This is the post request I'm sending. When you're sending the post request, we have to specify the body also, right? So we need to go to body section here and select the raw and select the JSON from this list. And this is the data I'm sending. You don't need to provide the ID. Just provide the name, location, phone number, and then courses. And ID will automatically generate it. So when you send the previous request, we got totally 3 records. So ID 1, ID 2, then ID 3. Totally 3 records which we have. So now when you send the new request, which will create the 4th record. So the ID will be the 4. Now let me just execute this, send request. Now the new record is generated. Now you can see here. So this is the record which is created with the ID 4. Okay. So no need to have this ID at the beginning. Okay. Not required. The order is not important. The data is important. All the data is available or is important. Order is not important. You can just have this beginning or name. You can say here. Order is not important. So which is generated ID here. Now again go back, and previously we have a 3 requests. Now if I send this request again one more time, this time we will get the 4 records. Now we can see 4th record also we got it from the JSON file. So this is how we can create a new record in the JSON file by sending the post request. So now I want to update this record. Okay, so currently the name is Scott, location is France, and some phone number, some courses are there. So I want to update this record. So then we need to send a put request. Go to the put request, and this is the request. And which record you want to update? Just now whatever record I created, 4th record, I just want to update. Then I can say 4 here, 4. And to update the record, we need to specify what are the details you want to update. Again, go to the body section, and here you have to specify what are the things you want to update. Suppose I want to update. So name is same, and just I want to update location phone number, and then courses. Okay, location, phone number. So location is France. Now here I'm updating as a Germany, and phone number is this one. I'm just updating the phone number. And previously the courses are what, C, C++. Now I'm just changing as a C#. Okay, so these are the details I have updated. But even though if you update only few fields, you have to pass the complete payload. Okay, you cannot avoid a name and other things. So we have to completely pass. So if you are sending a patch request, then you no need to pass the complete thing actually. If it just only whichever is change is there, if you pass only that change, that will allow us. If you send a patch request, but this API is currently is not supporting patch request. So we have to send the complete body, and you need to specify what are the things we have to change here. Okay, so now let us try to update. So I'm sending the request. So now this is the response. So previously Germany is there, now it is updated. So here location, phone number, it should update, it's still not updated. Let me just run one more time. Okay, so just a moment, we have done something wrong. I think we have to do something. Yeah, 1 second. Yeah, so earlier it was France. Okay, now it is updated actually. With this new record, it is updated. So again, if you go back and see here, students data. So now it will update it. Fourth record is updated. Now you can see here it is updated. So Scott of France and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is got updated. Okay, so this is how we can send push request. And suppose if you want to delete the request. Okay, now you can see go to the get request and send. We already created 2 records actually. So 1, 2, and 3 and 4 and 5. So totally we created 2 records, 4 and 5 also we created. Okay, so this is actually updated, but again I have sent put request one more time so that it is created one more record with the same data. Okay, so now if you want to delete the records, so what we can do is we have to send a delete request. So to send the delete request, I have created one more request called delete student, and whichever record you want to delete, just specify the ID here. So I just want to delete 4th one. So click on the send here. We don't need to send any request body. So it is got deleted. And 5th one also I want to delete. So say 5 here and then send it. Then 5th one is also deleted. Now we can just get all the students data. 4, 5 we have deleted. Now click on the send here. So now we got only 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 got deleted. So this is how we can send the requests for student API. Okay, so currently our API is running. Okay, so currently our API is running, but if you close that window, your API will stop running. If I close this window, your API will stop running. And whatever the API request we have sent through Postman, and those requests also will be shown in this console window, in the command window. You can see these are the different type of requests we have sent through Postman tool. Okay, so this is how we can send different type of requests to the API. So now what we have done, so we have successfully created our own API and we have started our API, and then we have successfully sent different type of request to the student API. Okay, so clear so far everyone? Okay, so far what we have seen is we have created our own API, student API, and then we have started running our API, and then we have sent different type of requests to the student API, and we have seen the different type of responses. So I will share this Excel sheet. Accordingly, you can prepare your own APIs, and don't try to import the tech collection because you will not learn anything, but you have to initially practice this. Okay, to practice this, you have to create your own, just create a new collection, empty collection, and try to create your own request, but don't try to import. I will share this file anyway, but don't import that file. Okay, just use it for reference, but you do your own request yourself, and then only you will be able to learn the Postman. Okay, so I will also share this Excel sheet. Accordingly, you can just create your own request and try to check the response. Okay, so we have seen how to create our own API and how to send different type of requests towards our API, and we have seen the responses. Fine. So here, the most important thing is if you want to validate any request or if you want to test the API. So yesterday we have discussed about few important components where we need to do some validations. Can anyone tell me what are the tests we have to conduct, validations? What are the things we need to validate once you send a HTTP request? So what are the things we have to validate? Suppose I have sent some request here, get a single student, and I got some response. So on this particular response, what are the things we have to validate? So what are the things we have to validate? So we have to validate the body. Okay, the content is correct or not, we have to check. And then what else we need to check? The cookies are properly creating or not, we have to check. This is the cookies information we have to check. And then headers information also we have to check. Proper headers are created, the header content values are correctly or not, we have to check. Right. So, and then what we have to check? We have to check status code, we have to check. And time also we can check, size we can check. So different components are there. As part of the response, we have to do validations. Okay. So here, to do these validations or to put some validation points, we have to know something called assertions. Okay. So the API Postman tool is providing some kind of assertions. By using them, we will able to validate it. Okay. And what are those assertions, how we can write those assertions, where we can write those assertions, that we will see later. The first, before that, we need to understand something about the response body. This is very, very important. So whenever you're sending some request, whenever you're sending some post request, we are specifying the body, right? And in the JSON format. And whenever you're getting some response also, you got the response in the JSON format. So here request and response will happen in the JSON format. So now, before applying some validations or before doing some validations, we need to first understand what is JSON, how to write a JSON, how we can extract the data from the JSON, and we need to also understand about the JSON path. So all these things we should be aware of it. And once you understand about the JSON, then we will look at how we can perform the different type of validation. So now let us try to understand the JSON. That is very, very important before doing all other operations. Okay. What is JSON? JSON, what is the full form of JSON? JavaScript object notation. So this is the full form of JSON, guys. This is a full form of JSON. And what is the use of JSON? Where we will use this JSON? So whenever you are communicating between client and server, whenever you are communicating between the client and server, the data will be communicated through JSON format. Let us say this is my client and this is my server. And the data communication will happen between these two things in the JSON format, sometimes even XML format also. So whenever you are transporting the data through the network, we have to change the format of data. So initially you may have text files, you may have Excel files, right? You may have PDF files, you may have HTML files. So you can have different type of data, but this data will not be transported as it is in the same format. So we will convert this entire data into JSON or an XML format, and only this format will be transporting to the network. So what is JSON means? JSON is a JavaScript object notation format. This is a data format. We can tell this is a data format. But why we will send data only in this format? Why can't we send the data in the text, XLS, PDF, HTML format? Because these are very high weighted files. Means what? Whenever you're transporting the data, it should be low weighted data. Okay. And moreover, the data should able to encrypt and also decrypt, because security is most important. So we should not send the data in original format. So the encryption and decryption, these things are possible only if you have data in the JSON or XML format. And also it is very light-weighted software, light-weighted data files. So when you're transporting this data in the network, it will go very, very faster. Okay, so that's the reason we will prefer either JSON or XML formats to transporting the data between client and the server. So that is the reason we will use JSON or XML format as part of your request and response payload. When you send your request, post request, we will send through JSON format. When you're getting the response also, we will get the response in the JSON format. But when you compare JSON and XML, which one is more preferable is JSON will be preferred. Okay, but XML will be used especially in the SOAP type of services. But REST services, especially always we use JSON format. Okay, so the request and the response both will be happen in the JSON format. Now, if you want to validate the data, if you want to validate the response, we need to understand the JSON file. We need to understand the JSON data. And if you're able to understand the JSON data, then only we will able to put some validations on the JSON data. That's most important. So now we will discuss about something about JSON. Okay, how to create the data in the JSON and how we can specify the data and what are the different data types are available. What is JSON object? What is JSON array? And how we can extract the JSON path, how we can identify the data in the JSON. So all these things we need to understand first, and then we will able to validate the JSON response. Okay, so now let me just share small presentation related to the JSON, and then we will come back and discuss about validation points. And listen carefully, this is a most important topic. 1 second. Okay, so now let us try to understand JSON. So what is JSON, what is JSON path, and how to extract the JSON data and so on. So first of all, what is JSON? So just now we understood something about JSON. JSON is a JavaScript object notation, and it is a syntax for storing and exchanging the data. So we'll have the data in the form of JSON, and we will use it for exchanging the data between client and the server. And it is especially designed for human readable format. We can easily read the data from the JSON. It is very easy to understand. Okay, and JSON is basically derived from JavaScript. So similarly, like XPath. So from XML language, XPath is derived. Similarly, from JavaScript, JSON is derived. Okay, so normally when you're testing the web application, we will have XPath, right? So we have XPath. XPath is nothing but what? XML path. So this is derived from XML file. Similarly, we have something called JavaScript. JavaScript is a scripting language, just like XML. So from the JavaScript, JSON is derived. So XPath here, and here we have a JSON path. There are two things will be there. Okay. So now the JSON is a data format. We will use that JSON format to transport the data between client and the server. Okay, so here it has been extended from the JavaScript language, so which is derived from the JavaScript language, and the file name should be .json. Whenever you're representing the data in the JSON format, that file extension should be .json. And whenever you use some file in the internet, we will have something called media type, and that is application/JSON. So wherever you can see this application/JSON, that is representing the JSON file. That is always representing the JSON format file. This is called media type. So every file is having some media type. Suppose if it is a text file, we will have application/txt. So like this, every file is having some media type. So here, if you have a JSON file, the media type of JSON file is application/JSON, because this is most important. We can see this in the headers part most of the times. And this will says what kind of data you got as a response. How will you know that whether it's JSON or XML? Based on the media type, you will know whether it's a JSON or XML. Okay, so this is a one thing. And the next thing is data type. So if we want to represent the data in the JSON, we need to know some basic data types like a number, which is used for representing the data, number data, string, Boolean. Boolean means true or false. Null means unknown value. Object and array. Object is nothing but what? Again, which contains a multiple records. And one more important thing is in the JSON, we have to represent the data in the form of key and value pairs.
key and value pairs. So everything is key and value pairs. So first we specify the key and corresponding value should be there. So the entire JSON, the data will be presented in the form of key and a value pair. Key and value pair. So number, string, boolean, null, object, and array. So we will discuss with the examples what is an object, what is an array, and so on. And these are the JSON data types. And when you're representing some data in the JSON file, you have to you no need to specify these data types, but the data which is presented in the JSON file should be part of any of these data types. Okay, now let me show you some examples here. Suppose I want to write some data in the string format in JSON. So how we can write in JSON? Whenever you write some data, you have to always start with the curly brace and the ending curly brace. So inside this, we have to specify the data. So this is starting curly brace and this is ending curly brace. Between this, we can write the data. So name is a key, John is a value. And what's the data type of this? String. Whenever you put something in the double quotations, that is a string. So you don't need to write a single line. You can also write in multiple lines also. The same thing you can also write like this. If you want to represent a name of a person, you can just curly brace, closing curly brace, and here name colon. So name colon and a value. You can also specify like this. So this is a JSON format. This is a JSON format. So curly brace starting point, ending point, and whatever data we have, that data we have to specify in the key and value pair. Now this is a key, name is a key, John is a value. And whenever you specify the key, that should be in the double quotations. Okay, key is always included in double quotations. Okay, in double quotations. Remember this, because we do not have data type of the key, but we have a data type of value. So the data types are applicable for only values, not for the keys. It can be any key, we have to keep inside the double quotations. It can be any key, we can specify in the double quotations. Okay, so here this is the value. Because it is a string, we put in the double quotations. Okay, suppose I want to store the name of the age of the person also, then I can write in the double quotations age. Age is another key, and here the age value is what? A number type. So we should not put in the double quotations. So I can give the number like this. So now this is a data about a person, name and age, and the name is one data and age is another data. So these two things we will separate by specifying the comma. By specifying the comma, we will separate. So now you can just look at all the keys should be included in the double quotations. And if values, no need to include, not all the values. Based on the data type, we have to specify. Suppose if it is string type of data, then we have to include the double quotations. If it is a number type of data, we don't need to include the double quotations. So name and age. So this is the representation. Okay, so for example, let's say I want to representing, let's say this particular person having some more details, like he's having phone numbers. Okay, he's having some phone numbers. So then what we can do is we can specify the array. We can specify the array. So for example, let's say phone is a key. Okay, but he is having two phone numbers. He's having two phone numbers. So then how we can specify those two phone numbers? If we want to specify multiple inputs for one variable, we have to keep in the square bracket. That is called as a JSON array. Now what we can do now, in the bracket, you have to specify. Suppose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is one phone number and there is another phone number. So if you have a multiple sets of data for one variable, then you can specify like this. Okay, so this is a way we need to specify. And this is called as what? Array. This is called as an array, which is contains a multiple records. Again, the phone number is a number data. We no need to keep in the double quotations. Okay, number data we no need to keep in the double quotations. And if you want to store them as a string, then we need to keep in the double quotations. And for example, this he is also having one more field called status, for example. Okay, status. Then status value is a boolean. Let's say boolean value. So if it is a boolean, it should be either true or false. So here I can say either true. or I can say either false. And how we can represent the Boolean data here? Again, Boolean data not require the quotations. Only the string type of data, we need a quotations. Okay, only string type of data, we need a quotations. All other data, we don't need any quotations. Okay, so true is not a number, not a string. That is a representation. Okay, true and false, because Boolean values are accepted only true or false. Only two values are accepted. So other values are not accepted. So that's the reason we have to say only true or false without quotations, And if you don't know the value, then you can simply say null. Okay, for example, this person is having, let us say he is a, let us assume this is my first name of the person. Now the second name is, don't know the second name. So then what I can say, second name is null. I can put second name is null. Null is nothing but what? Unknown value. Null is nothing but unknown value. So later, if you want to update this value, you can update here if you want. So the first name, second name, and this is the string data type. This is the null. This is the number data type. This is the JSON array. Array means what? For one variable, one key can have multiple values. One key can have multiple values. Okay, so this is the phone number. And this is the status, Boolean value, true or false. So this is how we can represent the JSON data, or the data we can represent in the JSON format. Okay, now this is all one object. We can consider this all is one single object, one JSON object, because which contains multiple fields and values. This is one JSON object. Okay, now let me show you a few more things. So we have seen some examples. Sometimes you can see like this. Okay, this is a student is a object and which contains a different type of data. This is one record, this is another record. Okay, so I will show you different things here. Now go back again. Okay, so for example, let us try to store the student data. Okay, so I want to represent the student's data. I want to represent the student's data. Okay, I want to represent student's data. So I can write one student object, starting curly brace, ending curly brace. Okay, now I have it. Let's say I have two students. Every student is having ID, name, and some designation. Okay, so ID, name. Let me take one more field. ID, name, some first name. Okay, so name is already there. ID, name, let me take something called designation or grade. Let me put the points here. Every student is having their ID, SID, okay, and S name and a grade. Okay, these are the three values every student is having. Now I want to store two students' data in the JSON format. I want to store two students' data in the JSON format. So now how we can do that? I can say students, okay, starting curly brace, ending curly brace, and here first two students. So two students I have told you, right? Two students are nothing but what? Two arrays we have to take. Okay, so two students in the sense, two arrays we have to take. So how to representing the arrays now? We can represent like this, colon, and you can just look at this. Students, colon, and this is the starting point, this is the ending point, because this is our array. So we can just put like this. So starting curly brace, ending curly brace. This is actual JSON object. Inside this, we have to create a student's data. So here I can say students is my key. Students is my key. And there are so many students are there. If I have a multiple students, we have to use an array concept, right? So this is my object from here to here, JSON format, starting point, ending point. So how many students data I want to store? Multiple students data I want to store. So now students is my key and which contains the multiple values. What are those values? Student one value, okay, student one values, student two values, student three values, and so on. But again, every student is having SID, name, and grade. Student one is having SID, name, and grade. Student two is also having SID, name, and grade. Student three is also having SID, name, and grade. But how we can represent that? So basically, students means what? Multiple students. So I put one array concept here. Let's put the next line here. This is a big array I have taken. Now inside this, I have to store multiple students data, Now how we can represent the data now? Student one data I want to represent. So how to represent the student one data here? Curly brace, student one data, right? So I can say here, SID, first SID equal to, SID is a number, let's say 101, comma, SID is a key. So we need to put in the double quotations. Now in the second thing, what is the next field? Yes name. I say yes name. So yes name is a string. So I can say John. Now what is the next value? Grade. So I can say grade. And this is also a string type. So I can say grade equal to EA. And done. So this is the record of first student. So record of first student is done. Now comma. Now the second record. For second record student, what we need to? So for second, yeah, comma is missing here. Yes, every key and value pair should be separated with comma. For the last record, we don't need to put the comma. So this is end. This is first record of first student. Now same thing we have to repeat for the second student. So this is a record of the second student. See, now student ID is 102, and I can say Kim is a student name. Kim is my student name, and the grade is, let us say, B. Now this is a data of the second student. Sorry guys, it is not equal to, actually this is a colon. Sorry. Okay, this is not equal to, this is the colon. We should not put equal to, we should put colon. I'm following Java syntax. Sorry. So this should be colon. Okay, so this is a representation. Fine. So these are the values and the keys. So we do not have single quote here. All are double quotes. Even as a single character or multiple characters, everything should be in the double quotes. Now, similarly, we need to add student 3 data. What we should do now? Comma, and copy this entire thing and place it over here. So now student number 3 and name. I can just pass some name here. I say Scott, and then grade is C. Okay, now if I just look at this data, so from here to here, this completely one JSON data, and which contains a number of students data. So what we have to store multiple students data so that it should be array, and inside array we have created multiple student data. So this is one student data, and this is another type of student data, and this is another type of student data. So for the last record, we don't need to use comma. So first student, second student, and the third student. Okay, and this is one object, JSON object. This is one object. This is one object. So now the JSON array contains the JSON objects. So this is how we can create a JSON file. Based on the data, we can create our own JSON file. Okay, so at least this much we have to understand about the JSON. And once you understand this, then we can validate the data also. So whether SID is 101 correct or not, or grade is B or not. And here the third student S name is Scott or not. So these things we can validate. In the Postman, these things we can validate. But before validating, we have to understand the structure of JSON. That's the most important thing. Okay, so this is the most important thing we need to validate. So because as part of the response body or response, we have to validate the body also, right? Response data. So normally the response data in the JSON format. If the response data in the JSON format, so we have to understand what is main node, what is an array, whether it's JSON object or not. So we need to parse this data properly, and then we will understand this. Then only we will put some validation points on the response data. That's the most important. Okay. So now I'll share this presentation, which is having same thing, and the comparison between JSON and XML. Sometimes you will get response in the XML format also. And when you again compare these things, advantages and disadvantages are there for both JSON and XML. And JSON is basically a simple to read and write. We can easily understand JSON and we can easily write our own JSON. But XML is lesser simple as compared to JSON. And JSON, in the JSON format, it support array concept, but in XML, array concept is not there. It doesn't support. And when you read the data from JSON XML, most of the times we feel easiness. When you read JSON file, it is more easier than XML file. And the data types, the JSON will support only text and number types. And XML support other types also, like text, number, images, charts, graphs. So other data types also supported in XML file. So this is a basic difference between JSON and XML file. Okay, now here I have given same example. So this is a JSON examples of employee data, and we have created one array which contains employee details, name and email, and the same data is represented in the form of XML format. So as of now, XML is not important. I will discuss a few examples about XML after few sessions. Okay, for now, we will completely focus on JSON format. Okay, and then JSON object, a JSON array. So what is a JSON object? This is a JSON object. Employee, which contains name, salary, married. So this is the JSON object. Just in our example, so this is a JSON object. This is one object. This is another object. Object in the sense which contains a multiple key value pairs. So you need to understand that. Object is nothing but what? JSON object is nothing but what? Which contains the multiple key and the value pairs. That is called JSON object. JSON object is nothing but which contains a multiple key value pairs. So which is one object. This is one object. This is one object. And the array can have normal values, primitive types, or objects. Now, if can we say this array of objects? Can we say this is array of objects or not? Yes or no? So if you write this, let's say I have written something like this. Okay, so this is my JSON. I say students. Okay, I can say students. Okay, and here in the students, I can say here I put 100, 200, and 300. Now, can you see the difference between the above one, this one? So here students is just an array, just an array. The students is a key which contains the only primitive values, But here students is an array. Students is an array which contains the primitive values. But here students is an array which contains the objects, That is the difference. So now array contains the primitive values, right? If you want to store the names, only names, then what you can do? You can put here, let's say A, comma B, comma C. So these are also primitive types. So now this array contains only numbers. This array contains only strings. Now this array contains objects, JSON objects. Clear, everyone so far? So if you understand this much, that is more than enough from JSON. So we'll able to put some validations on the JSON. Okay. So here I have given more number of examples. I will share this presentation later. You guys can go through it and try to understand. And whatever explanation I have given, which is all related to this one. And we have understood the basic examples here. We understood what is JSON object, and also we have understood JSON array. So both we have understood. So JSON array means what? This is the JSON array. So the array contains all the strings. Array contains all the numbers. Array contains only Boolean values. And here the array contains the objects. Employee is a variable which contains a multiple object. This is an array, starting point and ending point, and which contains a objects, JSON objects. Okay, so just need to understand. So this is a complete structure of JSON, and I have given each and everything is a different part, keys and value pairs. And to capture the JSON or to validate the JSON, we need to understand something about JSON path. Okay, if you want to validate any data, we have to write something called JSON path. Now, what is a JSON path? So that we need to understand. So for example, here, let's take our example. Now, I want to extract the S name of the first student. I want to extract name of the first student. I want to extract the name of the first student. How to extract? From this JSON, let's say this is my JSON file. Okay, so let me just put it here. Okay, so this is my JSON file from here to here. I want to extract this one. Okay, so to extract this one, we have to write a JSON path. We have something called JSON path. So by using JSON path, we will able to extract the data from the JSON file. Suppose how to write the JSON path for this particular field. to write the JSON path for this particular field, we have to start from the beginning. So students is an array, right? First we need to write students. Okay, in the students, we have multiple objects. This first object, second object, third object. Now in which object this S name is present? In the first object. So students of 1. Okay, and index will start from 0. So we have to say 0. Because array index will start from 0 only. So students of 1, 0 dot. In this, which field we want to access? The second field we want to access. What is that? S name. So here we have to say yes name. Okay. So this is the JSON path which is representing yes name. This is a JSON path which is representing yes name. Okay. Now, so array index is start from 0, guys. Okay. This is a 0, this is a 1, and this is a 2. We need to consider like this. Okay. Yes, order is not important. Okay. Suppose if this record is present here, if this record is present here, now I want to extract. Okay. Now I want to extract this S name. Then what we need to, again, same JSON path. Though this time it will extract this S name, not this one. So in which order the data is presented in the JSON, in the same order, we have to write a JSON path. Okay, but we are specifying, right? Order is nothing but what? I'm not talking about this order, objects. I'm talking about the internal fields. If the grade is present in the first place, no problem. If the name is present in the next place, no problem. Why? Because we are specifying the key here. Okay, we are specifying the key here. Okay, now if I write JSON path like this, which value it will give you? Which value it will extract? Now tell me. So students of 0 dot name I have given. So let us assume this is a placed here. This will be placed here. So now tell me, if you place here, so what is the value you will get when you put like this? Okay, let me just decrease the font, guys, so that you are able to see that. Okay, so now when I say students of 0 dot name, what is the value you will get here? John, right? Perfect. Now tell me, I want to capture the SID 103. I want to capture. Now tell me what is how to write a JSON path. SID 103. I want to capture SID 103. So what is the JSON path? First we need to go to students of what is an index? 2 is an index. Inside the 2 we have SID. So I need to say SID. So this will return 103. Okay, so just by writing JSON path, we will able to extract the data. So if it is a very simple and very basic JSON file, we will able to create our own JSON path. But sometimes your JSON file having complex data. There is a lot of data is available. It's very, very complex. But in those cases, it is very difficult to write a JSON path. So what we need to do now, we need to take the help of some tools to generate the JSON path. Okay. So what are those tools? We have two tools are available. So one is what? JSON Pathfinder and JSON Path. JSON Pathfinder and JSON Path. You can use these two applications. Now let me just open this. So how to use JSON Pathfinder? So let's open this website, jsonpathfinder.com. So here, first of all, we need to place our JSON. So let me place our JSON file. So I'll take student.json, whatever we created, and copy it here. Okay, this is my JSON file, JSON data. Now, if I just look at here, it will automatically generate JSON paths. In the right side window, if I expand the students, it will automatically generated XML path. So this is a data representation. Now you can see if you want to get the JSON path of this phone number. Okay, phone 16549 is there. So this is the phone number. I want to get the JSON path. So how we will get it now, and where it is there, we need to go to this one. So 0, first record, 1 record, 2 record, 1, 2, 3 records are there. So 0, 1, 2, because index start from 0. And now where we need to go to get this one? Third one. So we need to expand the second one. So what is the field name here is phone number. So now click on the phone number here. So it will automatically generated JSON path. So X is just representation of root node. You can just ignore it. So we need to consider from here, students of 2.phone. So this is a JSON path. So this will help us to automatically generate JSON path if you have a complex JSON file or if you have a data which is very complex. So in those cases, we can take the help of this tool and which will automatically generated JSON path, whichever field we have identified. As you can see, as soon as I have identified, as soon as I click on the particular field, this is automatically generating the JSON path. And by using this JSON path, we will able to extract the particular data and then we will apply some validation, whether the data is correct or not. Suppose I want to check this name is John or not. So first we need to write a JSON path and this name should be equal to John. That is our validation. And similarly, I want to verify the phone number of the first student. So I can just click on it. This is a JSON path. So by using this JSON path, extract the data. And now the data is equal to that phone number or not, we need to verify. So first we need to extract the data from this JSON, then compare that data with our expected data. So that's how we need to validate the JSON response. So to validate the JSON response, it is very, very important to get the JSON path. Okay, if we don't know the JSON path, we cannot extract the data from the JSON, we cannot validate it. This is the one tool, very, very useful tool, which is having. And there is one more tool called jsonpath.com. jsonpath.com. Okay, so this is also very, very helpful. So here we can check our JSON path is correctly written or not. So in the first tool, it will automatically generate the JSON path. But in this, whatever the JSON path we already generated, which is correctly identifying the value or not, that we can test it here. Okay, for example, let us take the same JSON data here also. Okay, so now what I will do is here, I will generate one JSON path, some particular field. Let us say ID to second record. Name is Kim, right? So you can just go to second record. Second is nothing but 1 here. So name is a Kim. So this is a JSON path. So which is exactly identifying the Kim. But this particular JSON path is correctly extracting the value Kim or not. How we can check it here? Here it is fine. It is just generating the JSON path. But how we will know whether it is exactly pointing to the same value or not? Kim it is returning or not? Simply we have to copy this and go to this another tool and then paste it over here. Remove this and paste it over here. And once you paste it here, you can see the value here. It is exactly returning Kim or not? Yes, it is returning Kim. So this is how we can validate our own JSON path. And if you are creating your own JSON path, how we will know whether it is correctly written or not? Simply you can paste your JSON path here, JSON data here, and then it will return this. Your JSON path will exactly return the data here, whichever it is matching in the JSON path. And both are very, very useful. In the first one, here we can generate our own JSON file, JSON path based on the JSON. And the second is for what? Whatever JSON path we generated, which is correctly extracting the data from the JSON or not. And that we can check it here. Okay. So this is how, suppose I want to extract this one. So Python, I want to extract it. Okay, so this is a Python I want to extract. Now, how to write a JSON file here, JSON path? How to write a JSON path? Please tell me now. I want to extract this Python. This is the one I want to extract. So how to write a JSON path? Where we need to go? Students of 1, because that is there in the second record. So we need to go to index 1. Inside this, courses is there, right? Courses, dot courses. Okay, dot courses. Now, if you just leave here, it is returning 2 things, so Python and Appium. Now I want to access only Python. The first one I want to access. Again, the courses is what? Array. Courses is what? Array. So if you want to extract Python, what is an index we have to specify? 1, we have to 0, we have to specify. So now you can see this is a JSON path which is extracted Python from our JSON data. So we have to practice this, which is very, very important. Okay. So we need to understand the JSON format and then how to write the JSON path. how it is going to extract the data from the JSON. And once you extracted this data, then we can validate it, whether exactly it is Python or not. Okay, so for that, we need to add some validation point. We will use something called assertion. Inside the Postman, those options are available. But before that, we need to understand JSON, how to analyze the JSON data and how we can extract the JSON data, how to write the JSON path, and where exactly we can check JSON path is correct or not. So all these things we have to know at the beginning level, and then we will able to do some validations on the JSON data. Okay, so I'll share this presentation. Just go through this and try to understand JSON, about JSON, and then in the next session we will see how we can perform the different type of validations, and not only JSON response body, and we also do other type of validations like status code. Okay, and then we will also validate time, and then we will also validate headers, cookies, and everything we will able to validate. But most important thing is data. Okay, data we have to validate, whether we are getting right data or not. That's most important. And then we'll able to validate the rest of the things. Okay, so in the next session, we will see how we can validate the response. So once you get the response like this, how we can validate this response, how we can validate the fields, how we can validate cookies, headers, and how we can put the different type of validation points. So these things we will see in the next session. Okay, so I'll stop here for today's session. We will continue in the tomorrow session.